you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Living the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Living the Dream podcast, where we climb up this hump day hill to explore total wellness in order to reach for your goals and live your dream life. And today we're going to talk about 9 restaurants known to spike your blood sugar, according to continuous glucose monitor data. Fast food is full of refined grains and sugars, and it shows in members' glucose data from the company Levels from logs that they've done on their app. Here's what to watch out for and healthier options based on the company Levels. They did a really good job in this article that I read. We know that most fast food and fast casual restaurants aren't that great for our health in the long run. There are the one-offs, of course, but for the most part, often their menus are packed with high-calorie foods, high-fat foods, and high-sugar foods that are processed beyond recognition. There's the chicken nuggets and the sugary blanched green beans. These are a far cry from plain chicken and vegetables. Studies show that people who eat a lot of ultra-processed food are more likely to have higher fasting glucose, higher blood sugar, metabolic syndrome, which we talk about a lot on this podcast, which metabolic syndrome is just a cluster of conditions that occur together, increasing the risk of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. These conditions include high blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat around the waist, and abnormal cholesterol and triglyceride levels. Metabolic syndrome is diagnosed when a person has at least 3 of those conditions. It's often linked to obesity, lack of exercise and activity, unhealthy eating habits, and managing metabolic syndrome typically involves lifestyle changes such as regular exercise, resistance training, healthy diet, and losing weight. So, studies show that people who eat a lot of these ultra-high processed foods have all of that, along with a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes, which is not a great thing when it comes to your overall long health span that you're looking for. When you eat highly processed foods, those high in refined grains and starches and sugars and what they call naked carbs, your blood sugar can rise sharply in the hours after you eat that food. While an occasional post-meal spike isn't cause for concern, frequent spikes and then frequent crashes in your blood sugar can hamper your body's ability to maintain optimal blood glucose levels. And over time, this can lead to what they call insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. In other words, to protect your future health, you really do want to avoid eating foods that are spiking your blood sugar and making you crash too often. Every once in a while, it's not that big of a deal. And the more metabolically flexible you are, the more healthy you are, the more active you are, the less likely it is that that's going to be that impactful. But the more often it happens, it's not a great thing. At Levels, they have millions of members who wear these continuous glucose monitors that are attached to the skin, which record their real-time blood sugar response to the foods that they've eaten. And they log their meals, and they can look at their data, and then over millions of logs, they can see which restaurants and which fast food joints seem to lead to the most significant blood sugar spikes. Now, it's important to note that many of these logs simply list the restaurant. So if they were logging their food, they write McDonald's or they write Burger King, and they don't really write the specific food. But in a recent newsletter article by Levels, they included the types of food that can be problematic from a metabolic health perspective, along with some alternative choices if you're stuck in a restaurant like this and you do need to order something. And we're going to talk about that today. In the words of the great Michael Pollen, a great rule of thumb for when you're eating a meal and you're focused on healthy blood sugar levels, eat mostly real food. Not too much, mostly plants. And myself, I would add, eat lean animal proteins that were raised properly, but that's my bias talking right there. So eat real food, not too much, mostly plants, a good rule of thumb when you're thinking about your blood sugar. Before we go through this list, it's important to note two things here. We want to address two things. And when I say blood glucose today, I'm talking about the sugar from the food that is being broken down in your system. The carbohydrates that you eat get broken down into these little tiny things called glucose, and that goes into your bloodstream. And in the bloodstream, before it can get used up as energy or stored as energy, meaning it can either be used as energy when it gets broken down into glucose, or it can get stored in things like body fat or other tissue. Some can be held in muscle as well and in the liver, but that's another episode. So blood glucose and blood sugar, those can basically be interchanged with each other today, blood glucose and blood sugar. It's also important to gauge what quote unquote good glucose levels are and what high fasting glucose levels are. And most experts agree that when you wake up from a night of fasting, a good fasting blood glucose level would be somewhere in the 70 to 80s range. 70s to 80s range would be a nice little fasting glucose when you wake up in the morning. When I wear my glucose monitor from Levels, and I try to wear it maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I like to see it in the 80s when I wake up. But for me, I often eat very late in my night, which I could probably change there. It's due to my lifestyle. And I also have higher stress levels, both physically and psychologically, than the average Joe, I would say. And stress levels affect your glucose levels as well. So I sometimes see my fasting blood glucose levels in the 90s, which some people would call high and others might even call pre-diabetic. But if you're in the hundreds when you wake up, they call that pre-diabetes. And if you're over 120 when you wake up, that's considered diabetic range. So when I tell you how much these foods spike the blood sugar, it may help for you to think of those numbers. Foods will spike your blood sugar over a 90 to 120 minute time period. So within 90 minutes to 2 hours, your blood sugar is going to spike when you eat some carbohydrates and food. But your body should be able to buffer that blood sugar from your bloodstream and get it to where it needs to go after that time frame. And it should start to drop back down. So it should spike and drop back down. Some experts say that the less you can spike it, the better. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So the 70s and 80s range is a good range for when you wake up. So keep that in mind when we talk about these numbers at these restaurants when they spike the blood glucose monitors of these Levels members. So let's dive in and see what these restaurants are doing to people who are wearing the continuous glucose monitors when they eat it. Let's start it off with Burger King and McDonald's. Burger King and McDonald's. The average glucose rise at Burger King and McDonald's is as high as about 58 milligrams per deciliter. So remember, we start off at 70s to 80s and it spikes it about 58 after you eat that food. Common menu hazards at these places. All the burgers, sandwiches, and wraps from these drive-through joints come on buns made of enriched wheat flour and sugar, which both spike blood glucose. French fries are made entirely of starchy potatoes and often fried in low-quality oils. As for the breakfast menu, both burger joints' egg sandwiches come on an English muffin, a croissant, a biscuit, or a wrap. All of those are made with some combination of enriched wheat flour, cornmeal, corn flour, and sugar, all known to skyrocket blood sugar. So ideals for healthier alternatives here, you could opt for a create your own sandwich and choose a burger or chicken patty with a lettuce wrap instead of a bun. But skip the starchy fries. I know McDonald's has the best fries. I would not even argue that right now. It is they do a great job, but skip the fries and skip the bun or the wrap or the biscuit or the croissant. And then you could get a salad topped with grilled chicken, like McDonald's grilled chicken salad or Burger King's chicken garden salad. Those are also good choices, but it's important to ask for the dressing on the side. It has so much sugar in it, so go light if you add any at all. You could also drizzle some nice extra virgin olive oil on it instead, and then you'd be getting all the health benefits from that. So Burger King and McDonald's, average rise of 58. We got Popeyes and KFC. Popeyes and KFC, an average glucose rise of about 48. So not quite as much as Burger King and McDonald's, but it's up there. Common menu hazards at Popeyes and KFC. The chicken is the heart of both of these restaurants, but it's covered in Wheat flour that'll spike your blood sugar, and then it's deep fried in highly processed oil. For KFC, they use canola oil and hydrogenated soybean oil, and for Popeyes, they use palm oil. That's detrimental to overall metabolic health for you. Other menu items like chicken pot pie, mashed potatoes and gravy, and KFC's famous bowl, those are all packed with starchy potatoes and processed flour for thickening, providing minimal fiber and often added with sugar. Though coleslaw may seem like a safe bet, both recipes are loaded with sugar, 10 to 13 grams per serving. What? In coleslaw? Why? Another landmine to dodge would be the Popeyes famous biscuits, which are so delicious. Oh, those biscuits are so good. Made entirely from refined flour. I don't know the last time I've had one of those, but they were so good back when I had them. I think that was college days. Ideas for a healthier alternative. Though it's not advertised on their menus, you can get grilled, non-breaded chicken at KFC, and you can get blackened chicken at Popeyes. Opt for something like a 3-piece grilled chicken at KFC or a Popeyes blackened tenders and skip the potato and the biscuits on the side. Instead, ask for green beans, red beans, and rice or corn on the cob if your location has it. So Popeyes, 48, and KFC, 48 milligrams per deciliter increase. Moving on to Subway and Panera. Average glucose rise as high as 50 milligrams per deciliter. So just over KFC and Popeyes, but not quite as much as Burger King and McDonald's. Common menu hazards. Carb-heavy bread is the main culprit behind blood sugar spikes at these popular lunch spots. The worst offenders, Panera's Mediterranean veggie on tomato basil and bacon turkey bravo on tomato basil. And then Subway, their 6-inch The Boss and sweet onion chicken teriyaki, all of which have more than 100 grams of carbs inside them. What? Even dishes without bread may pose hidden glucose challenges. Panera uses flour to thicken most of its soups. Ideas for healthier alternatives. Sandwich alternatives are an easy way to level up on the health of your meal. At Subway, any protein bowl other than the meatball marinara or the sweet onion chicken teriyaki without dressing is a safe bet for a low-carb, low-sugar, high-protein meal. So look for the protein bowl. At Panera, the warm bowls feature a blend of quinoa and brown rice that adds fiber and some protein, but individual blood glucose responses to these foods vary. Amp up the protein even more by choosing a bowl and adding chicken to it. At either restaurant, opt for any salad with dressing on the side and a healthy dose of low-carb protein on top. Both spots offer grilled chicken, or try Subway's veggie patty, which provides 12 grams of fiber. The veggie patty probably is a fake product, but it's probably better than eating a huge, big bread Subway sandwich. So we got the Subway and we got the Panera, 50 milligrams per deciliter. Moving on to Dunkin' Donuts. Change to Dunkin'. Average glucose rise as high as 48 milligrams per deciliter, so it's up there with all the other ones. Common menu hazard. Dunkin's 2 signature orders, coffee and donuts. They are serious trouble for blood sugar. Their fancy coffee drinks are heavy on sugar and milk. Meanwhile, their donuts, you know it, entirely refined grains and added sugars, even though they're delicious. Probably that's why they're delicious. The same goes for all the other pastries. Ideas for healthier alternatives? Well, the good news, although immediate intake impairs glucose metabolism and insulin response, drinking coffee long-term may decrease the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Coffee has a protective effect. Order your coffee black or with a small amount of milk. Unfortunately, there aren't many great options for foods that don't still have a sugary meat or a messy to eat on the go option. I mean, really the best bet here is to trade your pastry for a breakfast sandwich like a bacon, egg, and cheese without the bread. Skip the donuts. Even if you snag a low sugar option like the sugar donut, the refined flour will still spike your blood sugar. Dunkin' Donuts. I guess we could kind of guess that one was on the list. Another one, Panda Express. Used to eat this in college all the time. Average glucose rise as high as 46. So right up there with all the others, but a little bit lower than most. Panda Express, common menu hazards. The basis of most Panda Express dishes is white rice or refined noodles and sugar-laden sauces. Per 1.8 ounce serving, the teriyaki sauce has 14 grams of sugar. 1 8-ounce serving, 14 grams of sugar, while the sweet and sour has 20. That's as much as a Snickers bar. Even the seemingly healthy entrees that they have sugar here. The grilled teriyaki chicken has 9 grams per serving, and the eggplant tofu vegetable has 17 grams. What? Eggplant tofu vegetable? That sounds like it should be healthy. 17 grams of added sugar? Come on now, Panda Express. That's why it tastes delicious. Ideas for healthier alternatives. Build your own bowl, which is the smallest portion size available. Choose the most blood sugar friendly options: the super greens entree, the mushroom chicken, the string bean chicken breast, the broccoli beef, or the steamed ginger fish. Those are all low in carbs and low in sugar, and all but the fish have a little bit of fiber. For your sides, skip the chow mein and the white rice and choose the super greens, which are steamed to retain nutrients and antioxidants, helpful for lowering inflammation and has some fiber to slow digestion. So we got Panda Express, 46 milligrams per deciliter average. Moving on to one of my favorite places when I was in high school and middle school, Dairy Queen. Are you kidding me? I was probably 50% chicken strip basket when I was younger. Oh, Dairy Queen made the list. Common, let's go with the average blood glucose rise. It's only about 40 milligrams per deciliter, so not as high as any of the ones so far, but it's still a spike. Common menu hazards are, sugar is everywhere at Dairy Queen. You could even guess that. Blizzards, soft serve, blended shakes, and cakes. They're all detrimental to your blood sugar levels. You could have guessed that. In addition to immediate spikes, consuming this much dairy all at once can cause higher insulin resistance the next day. Aside from the ice cream, DQ's food menu it's rife with starchy French fries, which are also delicious, and refined flour in the burger buns. The chicken strips and the pretzel sticks, yep, you guessed it, they're made of all of that starchy stuff too. So ideas for healthier alternatives. DQ has a few healthier menu options like rotisserie chicken. They have these rotisserie chicken bites instead of fried chicken tenders. And then salads topped with rotisserie chicken would be a great idea here. But considering you go to an ice cream shop like this for the sweet treats, your most effective approach here is to practice moderation by enjoying the dessert on the special occasion as it should be enjoyed, but in smaller portions. Also consider taking a walk after you do this. Any kind of physical activity will help to lower your glucose levels. Your body can help to use it as energy rather than being stored as fat. So a huge hack we've talked about all the time is after your big meals, especially your high glucose spiking meals, taking a walk or doing some body weight exercises like 50 body weight squats or 100 jumping jacks. Now, as we conclude our exploration of these restaurants that can wreak havoc on your blood sugar levels, it's important to remember that knowledge is power. Armed with the understanding of how certain foods affect your body, you can then make informed choices that support your health and well-being. But let's not forget the importance of balance and moderation. While it's crucial to be mindful of what you eat, it's equally important to enjoy the occasional indulgence without guilt. Life is about finding harmony between nourishing your body and feeding your soul. You don't have to be perfect here. It's the 80-20 rule. So the next time you find yourself faced with a menu full of potential blood sugar spikes, just take a moment, assess your options, choose wisely, listen to your body and how you feel afterwards, and importantly, savor each bite mindfully. If you're going to enjoy it, and then be an adult and live with your decisions. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. This Dream Team community is here to support you in every single way. Share your victories, seek guidance when needed, and celebrate the progress that you've made. Together, we can navigate the challenges of maintaining optimal health and create life filled with vitality, energy, and joy. And that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wellness Wednesday episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Please share the knowledge that you gain with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If you enjoy this content, it really does help a ton if you could post a screenshot of this episode on your social media stories with one takeaway that you learned. And make sure that you tag me and share your journey. Tag me at livingthedream_podcast or at Coach Damien_SD and let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. Tell us how you have experienced anything when it comes to continuous glucose monitors or blood sugar or anything that may be pertinent to this episode. We want to know. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Living the Dream team that we can discuss on future episodes. I'll be right here with you, working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.